you vaccinate millions of people, it's inevitable that you have rare or serious incidences of illnesses that occur after vaccination. And our role at the EMA is to evaluate these to make sure that any suspected adverse reactions are rapidly investigated so we can figure out, is this a real side effect to the vaccine or is it a coincidence? Now, to do this, we have mobilised our Pharmacovigilance and Risk Assessment Committee, which is a safety committee made up of mainly from experts from the national competent authorities from across the EU. But we also have patient representatives and healthcare professional representatives on this committee. And in this case, we've also pulled in experts from some of our international partners to help us with the evaluation. And we've pulled in experts who have expertise in thromboembolic events. Events involving blood clots, some with very unusual features such as low number of platelets, have occurred in a very small number of people who have received the vaccine. And these reports have been received through EudraVigilance, the European database for suspected adverse drug reaction reports. But of course, we know that many people, many thousands of people, develop blood clots annually in the EU for many different reasons. So what we call on our expert committee to do is to establish whether there might be a causal relationship between the vaccinations and these events. In other words, whether the vaccines might have caused the adverse events that occurred or whether the events are likely to be due to other causes. So this requires a very rigorous analysis of all the data related to thromboembolic events. And the experts look in great detail at all the available data, but also at the clinical circumstances surrounding the specific cases to determine whether the vaccine might have contributed or if it's likely to have been due to other causes. Now, last week, our expert committee met several times on this issue, but in the meantime, the interest in these events has actually stimulated additional reporting, so we're evaluating each of the incidences on a case-by-case event. So our experts are actually meeting again today. So having met most of last week, we have pulled together an ad hoc meeting again today to help us evaluate these cases with all the surrounding information that the member states will have. The experts will then carry on their assessment, and they again will meet on Thursday to come to a conclusion on the full information that has been gathered and to advise us as to whether there are any further actions that need to be taken. And we will inform the public of the outcome immediately after this meeting. I want to stress that our experts are working tirelessly to carry out this assessment as quickly as possible, but it needs a scientific evaluation. We need to have the facts first. We cannot come to a conclusion until we've done a thorough scientific analysis, and we owe it to the European citizens to deliver this clear and science-based response. So I want to also stress that at present there is no indication that vaccination has caused these conditions. They have not come up in the clinical trials and they're not listed as known or expected side events with this vaccine. In clinical trials, both the vaccinated people and the people who received the placebo have shown some very small numbers of blood clot developments. The number of thromboembolic events overall in the vaccinated people seems not to be higher than that seen in the general population. I don't need to remind you all here today that the COVID-19 pandemic is a global crisis with devastating health, social and economic impact, and it continues to be a major burden on EU health systems. Vaccines for COVID-19 help to protect individuals from becoming ill, especially healthcare professionals and vulnerable populations such as older people and those with chronic diseases. And this is a very important consideration in our assessment of the benefit risks. So while the investigation is ongoing, we are still firmly convinced that the benefits of the AstraZeneca vaccine in preventing COVID-19 with its associated risk of hospitalization and death outweigh the risk of these side effects. In the meantime, anyone who has received the vaccine and has any concerns should contact their appropriate healthcare professional. It's important that people who suspect that they have a side effect after vaccination report this to the National Medicines Regulator or to a healthcare professional who can help them to do so. Thousands of people are dying across the EU every day. We have authorised 4 highly effective COVID vaccines that can protect against severe COVID disease. These are very rare thrombo events or blood clots. We need to evaluate these very, very carefully. At the ad hoc meeting today, we will have a further update. But as I said, it's Thursday when we expect the evaluation to conclude. EMA is taking this situation very, very seriously, and we will continue to make sure that the European population is informed about the ongoing analysis of this assessment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Emer. I will now open the floor for questions. James Crisp, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Stefan. I hope you can hear me. There have been reports in the US of similar cases of blood clots linked to the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. I'd like to ask Ms. Cook, please, if she has had any similar reports in the EU and if it's something that the EMA is looking into. Thank you.
Thank you. Emer, please press speak.
Yes, thank you very much for the question, and it's indeed very relevant. In fact, we are evaluating, we are looking at adverse events associated with all vaccines. At the moment, the current focus, because of the reported incident in Europe, is on the AstraZeneca, but we have looked at the background rates for all the vaccines currently in circulation, and it looks like there are similar numbers coming in across the world, but that is something that will have to be evaluated by our committee.
Thank you very much. Oliver Grimm, please.
Hello, hi. Oliver Grimm with the Austrian newspaper Die Presse. A question on a decision the US FDA took on the 25th of February concerning the suggested temperature for storage and transport of the BioNTech Pfizer vaccine. Does the EMA already have a plan for when it's going to, find any decision on this matter, give a recommendation to the member states, whether this vaccine really has to be stored and transported at minus 70 degrees Celsius or could be also handled at higher temperatures? Thank you.
Emer?
Yeah, thank you very much. And of course, the logistics of rolling out some of these vaccines is very important for making sure that they reach all populations. So we are also looking at any new information on the storage conditions associated with the vaccine. We have looked at the in-use storage of the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine, and we will be coming out with an evaluation on this very shortly.
Thank you. Frank Jordans. You have to switch on your microphone, Frank.
Hello, I hope you can hear me now. Frank Jordans from AP.
Go ahead.
So some details have been coming out about the cases that occurred in Germany, including that there were 3 deaths among the 7 CSVT cases. And I'm wondering if you have any further information about those and other cases across the European Union that you can share with us at this time.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, indeed, we are receiving cases and more details of the circumstances of those cases effectively as we speak. And what we're understanding is that there may be they may be associated with some subpopulations, or there may indeed be some subpopulations of the overall thromboembolic events. But I'm not in a position to comment on the particular cases that have come through from Germany, other than to say that these are being discussed at the Pharmacovigilance and Risk Assessment Committee.
Donato Mancini, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
We hear you. Go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for taking my question. Is there any indication that the series of adverse events, especially the most serious ones, are related in any way to specific batches? And does the batch hypothesis form part of the probe that is currently underway? Thank you.
Emer, please.
Yes, thank you very much. And this is a very important point because originally, I think many of you will be aware that some specific batches were suspected as being linked to these side events. So we have actually mobilized our biological working party to look carefully into the possibility or plausibility of any events linked to specific batches, or in fact any differences in manufacturing in any way that might lead to some disparities across batches. So that's part of the investigation. Thank you.
So that's Emma Cook there, the head of regulation at the European Medicines Agency. Let's bring in our Europe correspondent, Michelle Clifford, who was listening into that as well. And Michelle, the EMA, they're saying that they see no indication that the AstraZeneca jab is the cause of those reported blood clots, but they are investigating it.
Yeah, I think very much this was a message of reassurance to people, reassurance that they have found no causal link between the reported cases of blood clots and the AstraZeneca vaccine, but also reassurance that they feel strongly that the benefits of taking the vaccine still outweigh the risks, because there are real problems in terms of the PR of the AstraZeneca vaccine that go back way before these problems related to reported blood clots. Germany and France, for example, decided not to give the AstraZeneca vaccine to the elderly. That led many people in the wider populations to ask why I was in Germany and France in the last couple of weeks, and people were telling me that they were trying to ask for the Pfizer vaccine or another vaccine because they had concerns. So there is that real worry. And of course now the likes of Germany and France have followed other countries in terms of suspending the vaccine rollout. That's a real problem because the EU already had an intense shortage of vaccinations. So not having this particular vaccine there is going to cause real problems. Of course, EU leaders would never want their legacy to be that they gave vaccinations that weren't safe to the populations of their country. So people like President Macron of France were saying they wanted to wait until the EMA had carried out the review that's taking place this week, and they will be reassured by what Emma Cook said in the last 20 minutes or so, that they still believe the benefits outweigh the risks, that they haven't found a causal link between the blood clots and the vaccination. She said that they've called in experts from all over to look at the specific cases, and they are going to be analysing the specific cases case by case. We're expecting some sort of announcement from the European Medicines Agency on Thursday to say what next steps may be needed. We're also expecting later today, Kimberly, an announcement from the World Health Organization in terms of the AstraZeneca vaccine. It too has said that the rollout, the vaccination programme, doesn't need to be stopped.
OK, Michelle, thank you. Now, the Duke of Edinburgh has this afternoon thanked the medical staff who treated him after he was discharged from King Edward VII's Hospital to return to Windsor Castle. Prince Philip was first